Welcome back, and get ready. State leaders say election night could look more like an election week or even an election month. And the controversy surrounding the U.S. Postal Service right now, that is only one factor among many. It will also take time to deal with different state laws and to simply open all the ballots that are expected to be mailed in. Plus, leaders want to make sure they get it right. That's always important. CBS News Chief Washington Correspondent Major Garrett joins us. He's been looking into all of this. Major, good morning. You spoke to a bipartisan group of secretaries of state. These are the people in charge of elections at the state level. Yep. Also an election security official. What do they tell you about how they're preparing?
That this is going to take a while, that because the nation in some areas is going through a rather large transition from in-person to mail-in voting, this process will play out for a longer period of time, especially where counting is concerned. Here's the good news, though. States that have a long history of voting by mail are giving all of the advice they can to states that are trying to make this transition and where the learning curve is somewhat steep. They also tell us, Tony, that the president's rhetoric about rigging and fraud does not help them. It confuses and sows doubts among voters. But they're working together, persistently trying to make sure this election is believable, trusted for the losers and the winners.
When New York City voters cast primary ballots in June, few expected this would be the scene at the Board of Elections. No declared winner 1 month later. President Trump cried fraud without evidence.
I think you should redo that election.
It has taken election officials some time to do the counting. About 40% of New York State's primary ballots arrived by mail, a nearly 11-fold increase over pre-pandemic levels. Now New York and other states are scrambling to scale up mail-in voting. More ballots by mail means results could be slower, and that means voters will need to be patient.
Absentee ballots or mail-in ballots tend to be more labor-intensive because you have to check the signature on the envelope to match it against the voter registration record. You need to open the envelope, separate out the security envelope, then remove the voter's ballot.
Kim Wyman is Washington's Republican Secretary of State.
We want accuracy above everything, so it's going to take time.
Washington is among 5 states that already vote almost exclusively by mail. This fall, in an effort to keep voters safe from coronavirus, 5 more states and Washington, D.C. will automatically send mail-in ballots to all registered voters.
Well, the problem with the mail-in voting, number one, you're never going to know when the election's over.
Waiting. It may be the hardest part, but this year it won't necessarily mean something's gone wrong.
We may not have official results for quite some time.
Chris Krebs oversees election cybersecurity at the Department of Homeland Security.
Certain states might not get called for some time, and that's okay. Be prepared, be patient, and most importantly, participate in the process.
Colorado is an all-vote-by-mail state where Democrat Jenna Griswold is the Secretary of State.
It does take a little longer to process mail ballots, and by the way, they're more secure than a lot of other forms of voting.
One thing Colorado does to speed things up, it processes mail-in ballots before Election Day. No results are reported until that night, but Griswold says there are other advantages.
Increases security because Russia cannot hack a mail ballot, and it's the best way to vote and social distance.
Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania are all expecting large increases in mail-in voting this year, and all 3 were pivotal to deciding the outcome in 2016. But none allows for early processing of mail-in ballots.
The other states have already figured this out, so I'm hopeful we'll be able to do so come November.
Jocelyn Benson is Michigan's Democratic Secretary of State. She has sparred with the GOP-controlled legislature on this issue.
If the legislature fails to act, citizens, not just in Michigan but around the country, need to know exactly why it will take a little bit longer, perhaps even a few days longer, to get the full results out of Michigan.
Again, Washington Secretary of State Kim Wyman.
Half of the country believes Joe Biden's going to win. Half of the country believes President Trump's going to win. And our job as election officials is to inspire confidence in the losers.
So I know the big question out there, how long is it going to take? Well, if this election is close, Tony, Secretary Wyman said the results, the official results, may not be known until mid to late November. And as a part of that, we talked to a lot of these secretaries of state. They say that among them there is a prayer. Let it be a landslide, not just this election, but any election.
Yeah, a lot of politicians are calling for that as well. Two important points that I think I would leave people with. First, the number one reason a ballot is rejected is not that it's late, but because people forget to sign the ballot or they sign it differently than what's on their license. So sign it and take your time doing it. Second point is, if you're not trusting the Postal Service at this moment, and, who could blame you, almost all states are supposed to allow mail-in ballots to be hand-delivered at local election offices. So that's something people can explore in their local areas. Such an important story, Major. Thank you very much.